You may have seen some items floating around on campus like this engaged bracelet or brick. So exactly what do they mean and how do they play into our quality enhancement plan? We'll explain coming up. Hello and welcome to this edition of GC Conversations. I'm Brittany Johnson and our guest today is Dr. Stephen Jones. Welcome.
Hi Brittany, how are you?
And we're glad to have you back, and we're going to talk some more about the Quality Enhancement Plan, QEP as it's being known. And you have kind of been, I guess, the backbone and kind of heading this along the way, along with the committee that's been working on this for several months now. Give us just kind of a little bit of background again, in case folks didn't see the show last time, on exactly what QEP is.
Sure. Well, one, I'm co-coordinator of the QEP, so Dr. Julia Metzger is the other coordinator. And we've been working with a lot of different folks on campus in the task force. And really the QEP, or Quality Enhancement Plan, is a plan that we put together every 5 years as part of our what's called reaffirmation or reaccreditation as a college and university. And so our quality enhancement plan is going to focus on student learning around the area of engaged learning. So the theme of our plan is building a culture of engaged learning, right? So that's what the bricks are for, exactly, right? So we're building a culture of engaged learning.
And why then is this something that was important to the committee, to you guys as co-chairs, and important to Georgia College to embrace?
Right. Well, as you said, this is something that's been going on since spring of 2012. And we've had numbers of different committees looking at this, a lot of different open forums with students, faculty, staff, community members. And one of the themes that kept popping up was this notion of engaged learning. And so we know it's something we're already doing, and so what we wanted to do was embrace that and then take it up a notch.
Right.
So that's what the focus is on.
And what exactly then is engaged learning? You know, you hear it and you kind of understand, okay, well, this is obviously taking that learning to the next step. But how do we kind of describe it in those terms?
Well, in general, engaged learning is really any type of pedagogy or learning technique, teaching and learning technique, that really requires that the students do more than just sit passively and absorb and receive information. They become active learners. They become active problem solvers. We want them to think critically about what they're learning and reflect on what they're learning. And not only reflect on what they're learning, but how they might apply that learning in their own professions or in their personal lives. Now, what we're going to do with this notion of engaged learning is add another level to that in the community. So although engaged learning that leads to any of the outcomes we've identified is definitely part of our QEP, we really want to focus on engaged learning that occurs in a community setting.
A great thing for us to embrace, and something that I look forward to seeing through the process. I think this is going to take us to, as you said, the next level. This is the next level of learning. So then exactly where are we in this process? Again, something that started back in 2012. Where do we stand right now, and what's kind of coming up in the near future for this?
Well, formally, we have presented a written document of our plan to our accreditor, which is the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. And they will be coming, or a team from that association will be coming on campus April 8th and 9th. And so they'll be talking to different people on campus, faculty, students, staff, community partners, about the QEP and how people are responding to it. But formally, we're doing different things on campus to let people know what the QEP is, how they can become involved in the QEP. And actually today at noon we're going to have a meeting with the campus about that. We'll have different meetings throughout the month, open to anybody, campus members, community members who want to learn more about the QEP and how they can become involved.
So coming up in April, again, the accrediting agency will be here on campus. What are some of the things going on right now as far as we go? We're having a couple of test runs of this engaged learning concept in some of the classes. How then does this kind of play in or get the ball rolling on this?
Right. Well, we've had two classes that we've considered pilot courses. One was taught last fall, which was a theater and social change class, and another that's being taught this semester, which is art and social change. Both of those have worked with the community. The theater class worked with early college students. And our students work with the early college students to develop improvisational skits and small plays about issues that middle school and high school students face on a daily basis, things like bullying or substance abuse. And they act out scenarios that reflect those issues, but they also have to come up with solutions to those issues. And so our students and the early high school, early college students are working together and collaboratively. And the theater classes, or the art and social change class is working in the Harrisburg community at the Collins B. Lee Center. And what students are doing right now is they're kind of getting a history of that community and the culture of the community and identifying key people, key personalities and events of that community. And then they will take what they learn about the community and translate that into a mural for the community. Now, where they're going to place the mural, they're not quite sure yet. That's one of the things they want to work with the community on. But they've got the community garden going on, the hiking trail going on. So they basically want the mural to reflect the vibrancy and vitality of that community.
Right, right. Two great examples, and we'll actually discuss them a little more in just a second, get a little more in-depth look at what's going on this semester, but we'll talk more about that in just a second, sure. Stephen. We'll be back in just a second with this edition of GC Conversations.
Get your ass up. You're not sitting here.
Yes, I am.
Move. Give it to him hard.
No.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Why are you stabbing me with it? No.
They want to help,
Ow.
but don't know how.
Oh, you got...
Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education.
Right up here.
So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour
Lights there, darts there.
to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
You can be a reader, tutor, or mentor too. Take the pledge at liveunited.org/volunteer.
Do you wear this?
And we're back with more of this edition of GC Conversations with Dr. Stephen Jones. And Dr. Jones, you were talking about our project this semester, the Mural Project out in the Harrisburg community. And one of the unique, or I guess, showcasing aspects of this that really involves the engaged theme is that we actually have two different groups of students on campus, two different kind of directives that are coming together to really embrace this project and make sure that it's the best representation of the community. Can you tell us a little bit about those groups and how they're doing that?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. The course involves students who are art majors and students in sociology, and so the students in sociology bring their background and expertise to talk about social issues and community and how communities define themselves. And then the art students obviously bring the skills of art. And so the sociology students are learning about how you visualize some of the things, just concepts, right? Oftentimes very abstract concepts. So they're learning how to visualize those concepts, and clearly the art students are learning more about those concepts and how to translate that into an artistic representation. And not only are they learning from each other, but they're learning from the community. Because in sociology you may study these very abstract concepts about what a community is, but by being engaged with the community, you realize that, well, okay, so some of what we study definitely makes sense in the real world, but sometimes not everybody fits neatly into these kind of conceptual categories that academics like to create. And so students are able to see kind of, in some cases, a real world application, but also they expand what they know from the discipline. And the community members in that sense become co-educators with the professors of the class.
Well, and that was something that I thought was important to point out, because I think that is a great representation of exactly what we mean here by engaged learning, that the students are learning on so many different levels now from each other, from their faculty member, from the community. That's really what we mean by this whole concept of engaged learning. Through some of the pilot programs and just some of the outreach that you guys as a committee have done on campus, you've actually gotten some feedback from a lot of people on this as to their involvement in this or what they think this means for the university as a whole. What's some of that feedback that you've gotten?
Yeah, it's great, Brittany. A couple of weeks ago, my colleague, Dr. Metzger, met with the University Student Council, which is basically the leadership of all the various student organizations, and talked to them about the Engage and the QEP. And one of the students sent us back a very nice email and essentially made a very good suggestion. Her suggestion was, is there a way we can recognize people, faculty, students, staff, community members who have been doing this already? So it's not anything new necessarily, right? We're just talking about, like I said, taking it up another level. And she was actually a student in a previous semester of the theater class that we had talked about. And she talked about how important that class was for her, how it not only helped them learn about community, but it helped them build community, not only with the early college students, but amongst themselves. I forgot to mention, just as the art class is sociology and art, the theater class is theater and nursing students, and the nursing students kind of look at some of the kind of healthcare aspects of the issues that they're studying in that class. So again, it's another good example of that kind of interdisciplinary approach to learning. And so one of the students said, I'll just read it if I may, I would love to be able to highlight the passion and heart of my peers who made my time here at GC meaningful and life-changing. Peers who enrolled in service courses when they had the option to enroll in others, sometimes not truly knowing how great the service component really was. She goes on to say that those two classes, she talks about 2 service classes that she took, those 2 classes are certainly the ones I cherish the most. I was recently told the last course I need to take to satisfy my major requirement is, and she put in big letters, a service course, and I couldn't be happier. And so this represents that, you know, the students really do respond to these kinds of learning activities, and it does bring them closer to each other in meaningful ways, but also closer to the community in meaningful ways.
Right, and obviously takeaways from the education system, again, that, you know, students are embracing this idea of that it doesn't necessarily have to be taught in a lecture hall where, you know, there's a PowerPoint slide and everything, that there are ways to learn and more engaging, hits the word, engaging ways to learn on a different level outside of the classroom. So from your perspective, I know we've talked about it a little bit, these 2 pilot programs and some of the other examples that we've talked about, how are these, in your mind, examples of exactly what we're talking about here as far as engaged learning?
Well, we have, as part of Engage, our QEP, we have 2 broad goals: to prepare students to be informed citizen leaders, able to serve the public good locally and globally. And so, again, these are very good examples. They become informed because they're learning about real issues, contemporary issues that young people, that communities confront, and how they deal with those. But they're citizen leaders in the sense that they're taking action on those issues. Not only individually, but they're working in concert with others to take action on those issues. So they're actually producing something, and that's what we talk about. We want them to produce something that contributes to the public good, which is the second goal. In the case of the art and social change class, they're creating a mural, but it is a public mural. It's not a piece of private art. It's not something that I'm going to buy and then put it in my home so nobody else can see it. It's something that the community owns and reflects the pride and ownership that the community has in Harrisburg for their neighborhood. So that's what we're trying to get students to do, is to not only learn, but to put that knowledge in action to serve the public good.
And that's something that we teach and embrace so much here, and so it's a great way for our students to kind of, for us to direct them and say, this is something, and once, as though this students, once they're involved in it, they really do embrace it as a whole. Well, Dr. Jones, we'll be back in just a second to talk more about this topic, especially kind of an update as to where we are now and what's coming up in the near future.
Okay, great.
And we'll be back in just a second with more of this edition of GC Conversations.
And then from this angle, it all makes a star.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore.
Show up
And frustration, a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible.
up?
I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought.
Find me one. What's your reaction gonna be? Yeah! Yeah, exactly.
And unconventional methods
Okay, what else?
common.
Little tadpoles, frogs, spiders, this is their world.
There's nothing.
And then they die. Go ahead, go, go, go.
I'm a teacher. I make more.
It's harder whenever there's a bigger group. Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
And we're back with this edition of GC Conversations with our guest, Dr. Stephen Jones. And Dr. Jones, we've been talking about the whole big picture of Engage, QEP. And this is such a far-reaching project and a 5-year initiative. We're actually in the process of hiring someone to oversee this, correct?
Right.
And where do we stand on that, and kind of what will that person do?
Well, a search committee has been created, and they've actually been looking at applications and have been talking to prospective candidates, and we hope within the next couple of weeks to have somebody identified to take on that role.
And what will they actually do as part of this process? Bring together everything involved? I can
They'll be
imagine.
doing a lot. They'll be very busy. There's a big assessment and evaluation piece of this. So everything that we do is going to have an evaluative and an assessment of student learning. So they'll have a big role in terms of kind of collecting information. How are we doing? Are we achieving the goals? Are the students achieving our learning outcomes? So that will be a big part. They'll need to be engaged themselves with the community and find out, what kinds of activities our faculty and students and staff can be doing in partnership with community members and organizations. So that will be a big part of the job. Coordinating the various activities. We'll have workshops. We'll have forums and information sessions. So next year is the first year of full implementation. So that person's going to be very busy just kind of getting things off the ground.
Right. And as next year, everything, we've had the 2 pilot programs, as we said earlier, up to this point, but fall 2014 is when this goes into full swing across campus. There's actually a process that you guys are getting ready to start for folks to apply for grants as part of that. Can you explain that process to us a little?
Right. We have what we call 4 project tiers, and we're kind of using this language of building. So at kind of the baseline, we have what we call apprentice grants, and that's to help faculty and potentially staff to develop courses or learning activities that incorporate the learning outcomes from the QEP. And so the idea is that they'll apply for that this semester. Next fall, they'll have workshops on kind of how to construct a course and how to design a good activity. And then they'll implement those courses next spring, and then they'll give us feedback on how that went. We have another tier, which is for folks that have been doing this. So it's not like they need the introduction. They may need some support in some areas, but primarily they've been doing this for a while. But they may have a bigger project in mind. So there may be something that they've always dreamed of being able to do, but they haven't been able to do it. And we'll have funds so that they can work with the community and develop large-scale projects. We also have a tier for mentors that we're calling fellows. And these are people, could be faculty, staff, or could even be a community partner who can work with those apprentice level folks and say, okay, well, here's some things you need to know. And so can work outside of a workshop framework and kind of be a mentor to somebody who's kind of just getting started in this. And then in the next few years, we'll have what we call a master's level. And those are really to support kind of either a department, an academic department, or a unit in how would we integrate this, right? How would we take this kind of engaged learning, but making it a kind of central part of what we do as a department or a program. And so we'll have funds to support that.
Okay. So going through that process now, we are kind of in the stage of just letting everyone know exactly what our plan is and how we're moving forward with it. And you showcased it a second ago. But some folks may have seen these floating around campus. We have the brick, the engaged brick, and bracelets. What exactly are we doing, and how are we hoping that these kind of get people to buy into and understand this idea of what we're embracing now?
Right. Well, the brick, basically, as I said before, really symbolizes this concept of building, right? We're building on and what we consider to be a pretty strong foundation, right? You always want to have a strong foundation. So we have a strong foundation, so we're building on that, right? So that's the idea of the brick. And when people see this, we'll say, well, tell me about engage, you know, what's the engage into brick, what does that mean? And so that leads us to inform people, well, we're talking about building a culture of engagement. And the wristbands are just, you know, just kind of, so if I wear this, somebody says, well, engage. So are you raising money for something? Because that's usually what wristbands are for. And we'll say, no, it's about this plan we have to engage students with the community. And so it's just kind of a conversation starter so that we can have these informal conversations about the topic. We also have if those are familiar with our library on campus, as you enter the library and go past the circulation desk and enter the main library, you'll see this kind of big wall with photographs, and the wall looks like you're building something. And so those photographs, again, are representations of forms of engaged learning. And so we're trying to use that wall as a way of stimulating interest, but also reflecting what we're already doing with respect to engaged learning.
And as far as the engaged wall goes, folks from all facets of campus are welcome to actually add content to that.
We would love to receive your photographs and just a brief caption about what this was capturing.
Yeah, it's such a great way to kind of build that idea and to build that topic of engaged learning. So quickly, what is next in this process? I know that SACS is coming in April, but how does this process develop between now and August when it's in full implementation?
Right. Well, for the next couple of weeks, and be watching because we haven't set the dates yet, but we'll be having open what we call Engage 101 sessions for anybody who's interested, and we'll talk about the plan. Just give a brief overview of the plan, but then really have a Q&A session so people can say, well, what does this mean for me? If I'm a student, what does it mean for me as a student? If I'm faculty, staff, what does it mean for me? Community partners, what does it mean for community partners? And that will, just to get people more familiarized. Then SACS, the team, will be coming in April. In the summer, we'll be doing a lot of planning and strategizing to get ready for the fall. So various people, the new director will be hired by then. We'll have these fellows organized. There'll be an advisory committee. So those folks will be working in the summer to kind of set the stage for the fall implementation.
Well, Dr. Jones, this is definitely an exciting time to be here at Georgia College, an exciting time to look to the future and to step up this game and really involve ourselves in this aspect.
We're looking forward to it.
Well, thanks so much for coming in and giving us an update on this, and we look forward to more updates to come.
Great. Thanks, Brittany.
All right. That's it for this edition of GC Conversations, and you can join us again next time.